Hi everybody, today I'm just doing a little tutorial on these mini roses. A lady from scrapbook.com asked me how I did them, and they're really so easy that I just wanted to quickly do a tutorial for her to show her how they're done. And you know, they also can save you a bit of money because Prima flowers can be a little bit costly, and these are really quick and easy to make, so you know, they're good value. Anyway, I'm going to show you the things that you need for it today. I use these two punches. I use this one here for the calyx. It's just a normal spiky flower punch, I guess you could say. And that's for the base there, which is actually the little leaves of the rose. And I use this one for the actual rose itself. These are both very cheap little punches. Anyone can get them, so they're a good option. Not everyone has expensive cutting machines and stuff. I'm lucky I do, but not everyone does. So I believe in using scraps, so I hope you don't mind. I've got scraps of paper everywhere. This is actually not paper, this is white cardstock. I make my roses out of cardstock. It's 250 GSM, and I find that it's more durable. It makes it easier to bend the rose into the shape that you want, and they're easier for postage. They just last longer. So that's what I use. And here's some green cardstock again. You can see I've already made a few flowers out of that. I've just got shreds left, but I've got enough here to make a rose and to show you. So I'm going to start off by cutting out the calyx. There we go. So there's the little green base of the rose. And I'm going to cut out, for the rose itself, three of these little, oops, the wrong one, three of these little flower shapes. There's one. I've run out of actual clear cardboard. There we go. 2, 3. So it's really quite simple when you think about it. There's only 3 layers, 4 layers if you count the calyx. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the little calyx here and show you how that's done. So what I do is I get my vintage photo, because it's just my favourite colour in the world and I use this on everything. And all I do is, I hope you can see this, but I'm just going to lay this flat on the piece of working paper here, and I just rub vintage photo all over it. And I find that what that does is it gives it a really nice natural looking leaf colour, rose leaf colour. See? So there's a colour before. And there's a colour later. Now, I mean, you might already have this colour done. Like, you already might have cardstock this colour, but I don't. And also, I find that sometimes when you do your own, it's not as regular. And so you end up with little bits of lighter green showing through in some places, just more natural look. So I like to do it this way. So once that's done, I get my little skewer. Now, I make a lot of my tools, as you can see. So this is just one of those kebab skewers that I use. And I'm going to put a little hole in the middle. So I'll just push that down, and then I hold it between my fingers, and then I'll just twist. Don't worry too much about squashing it flat or anything like that. It'll pop back in shape. So once you got your little hole in the middle, there we go. So there's that, and I get my bone folder, and I press that into the center of each petal, so to speak. Now, with the tip of the bone folder, just push into the middle of that little flower petal, and what that does is it creates a little dish shape, and it starts to fold the calyx in as well. But that little dish shape in the petals is actually quite important, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm just going to quickly do this here. Once they're dished up like that, all I do is I pinch them between my fingers to form a more spiky shape, and that looks a little bit more to me like a little rose leaf, so that's why I do it. You can leave them like that if you want, just flat, but I prefer to make them pointy, and I find that it doesn't dominate the flower either, just to have little tiny bits of green showing through for the leaves. So that's what it looks like in the end. See, it's sort of dished up into a little pointy, spiky, it almost looks like a strawberry top really. Our little calyx piece is now finished, so I'm going to move that aside. And I'm going to get our 3 shapes that we cut out. Here we go, here they are. And I'm going to lay them again on my working paper. And you can glimmer mist them any colour you want, as long as you've got the colour of glimmer mist, of course. So I'm doing them in, what is it, Trunk Bay today, which is like a very pale robin's egg blue with a touch of silver. And I love always having glimmer mist for this sort of stuff because it just adds that little tiny bit of shimmer to the petals. And sometimes you find in nature, like in real life, things like orchids and stuff do have that natural shimmer, so it's nice to have that. Once I've sprayed them, because I'm super impatient, I'm just going to dry these a bit with my heat gun. It's always a good sign when they start blowing away, you know that they're getting dry then. They don't have to be super dry. Just dry enough to be able to flip them over and do the other side. I'm going to flip these over now, give them another spray. Excellent. Alright, and then I'm going to heat gun them again. Oops. This time they have to be a little drier. I mean, if you're a patient person, you can do these, walk away, go do something else. Maybe come back in, 10 minutes when they're actually dry. I'm not a patient person. It's not one of my virtues, so I usually try and just dry these out with the heat gun. Oh, you know what? Here, use your skewer and hold them in place. That's better. That's a better idea. And I think it's safe to say that they're fairly dry now. Yeah, they are. Once these are dry, just going to move our paper out of the way. We don't need that anymore. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my trusty skewer again. And I'm going to put a hole dead in the middle. As dead in the middle as I can. There we go. Twist a little bit. There we go. See, that gives you a little hole in the middle. And then I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to extend the depth of those petals, because my petal cutter doesn't cut them deep enough, and you'll see why in a second when I make the rose. It's important that the petals overlap each other, and with this punch that I've got they don't. So this way I have now got petals that are a little bit more independent and they're just joined in the center. I hope you can see that. See there? They're cut a little deeper now. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that for all three. And we're all set now and ready to put our little roses together. Now, this is entirely up to you. Before I do these ones, I really like to give them a little brush again with the Vintage Photo Distress ink to give it the little brown edges. It just gives it a really nice little vintage look. It's not mandatory, it's completely optional, and you can add brushes of silver or gold or whatever you like to the edges, or a darker color looks nice. Say for instance these were white, you could put like a pink or a red, or if it was yellow you could put blue or green, and that gives you a whole bunch of different options, because you can make the little variegated roses that look really cute. In this instance I'm using the robin's egg blue and the Vintage Photo brown, so and I really like the way that combination looks. Like I said, it just gives it that little vintagey look. So I ink the edges of mine. I'm not terribly fussy about how it's done. Okay, so once we're finished, we've got our little calyx, we've got our 3 cutouts, and we need the center of our flower. Now what I do is I get these are cake decorating pistils for flowers. They're like little pearl beads, I think, on the end of like little pipes that are covered in paper. If you have trouble finding these, cake decorating supply shops sell them. So they're pretty handy to have on hand for this sort of thing. And all I do is I fold it in half and pinch the end there to give it a bit more of a pointy end. And I get my first little shape and I pop it through. Now once they're like that, I just gather the little petals with my fingers. I try and make sure that they're overlapping. Now hang on a second, let me get in position and then I'll show you. See how the petals are overlapping there? So once they're overlapping, all of them, I force them in, and because they're overlapping, see they've got that natural little bud look. So, and I just keep pushing them and keep pushing with my fingers on the outside and give them a good squash. It's not going to hurt them. That's the beauty of cardstock, is you get actually be quite forceful with it. So you can see here that I'm just pinching and twisting and pinching and twisting, and what I'm going to end up with is a little bud like that. Now at this point, if you want to have buds, you can actually use this and stick a little calyx on the bottom and push the calyx up against it. Hang on a sec, and I'll show you how these look so that you can see. So if you were making a bud, you just pop this in with a little bit of glue on the calyx, and you would just fold those little petals in with a bit of glue so that they're pressed up against the flower, like so. But we're not making buds today, so I just thought I'd just show you though how it would look. Alright, so once you got your little bud, you put your next shape on. And again, I try and layer the petals somewhat. And I push them in to get that natural look, like the flower's grown that way. Give them a bit of a squish. Alright, at that point what I do is I've squished them in almost to a bigger bud, and what I do then is I just bend them in slightly with my fingers. You can use a little tool if you want, like your skewer stick or a pencil or a paintbrush end or anything like that, but I like to just curve them in slightly, like so, to give it more of a rose look. And then I put the last bit on. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to push it up again. I'm going to give it a good squish all together. It's hard to do this without actually putting my hands in the way, I'm sorry. So it ends up like that, and with these ones I'm actually going to bend backwards slightly. Again, you can use your skewer if you prefer, or your fingertips, whatever you like. But that gives you your little rose. So there's your little rose. And then what I do is I put a dab of glue in the center of the base of the calyx, so just where the hole is, just in that flat dish shape. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Hopefully my glue will come out. It's been stubborn lately. There we go. So you just need a little dab, not a huge amount. And I'm going to pop my flower through the center. And pull it up, and what happens then is the glue will stick to the flower and also to the stem and keep the whole thing in place. So there you got your little spiky bits of leaf showing through and your little rose. And that's it. Now if you choose to, see this one here has been glittered with stickles as well. So there's your two options. You've got the dusty sort of antique look there, or you can glitter it and give it a really blingy look as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you've learned how to make little mini roses. Good luck making yours, and I'd love to hear back from you. Thanks for watching. Bye!